Welcome to the Irish Snug podcast. All right, today we're kicking off a new series on the Irish Snug called Back from Ireland, where we talk less about where somebody went and more about what happened while they were there. And my first guest is an old friend of mine, Chuck Rodda. Chuck retired from the U.S. Army as a Chief Warrant Officer 5 after a career that began as a combat medic and eventually took him through flight school to become an instructor pilot and safety officer. Today, he continues to fly with LifeNet of New York. Military service runs in the family. Chuck's father was a career Army veteran as well, retiring as a Master Sergeant after 33 years of service, including active duty in Korea. Chuck just returned from a great trip through Ireland with his wife, Michelle, and fortunately for us, he kept some pretty good notes along the way. So today, we're going to find out not just where Chuck went, but what happened when he got there. Chuck, welcome to the Snug.
Thank you, Tim. Great to see you.
Really great to see you, Chuck. We were talking a little bit before the show there, and it's been, we've really only seen each other once or twice in the last 35, 40 years probably.
That's true.
And we grew up together as kids. You're a little bit older than me, but I know you so long that I actually don't remember. I was at an age where I wouldn't have remembered, you were in my neighborhood and you were the older guy.
Yep. I remember.
There's probably like 4 or 5 years between us, I guess.
Yeah, I'm 60. I'll be 62 the end of this month.
All right, I'm 68. I'm 58. Yeah, so close enough.
I still remember you telling me about those trees that your grandfather planted in front of the house there.
Yes,
those big pine trees.
Yeah. When did I tell you that?
We were kids.
You're kidding. You remember me telling you that? Because I still tell people that.
Yeah.
Those pine trees. Yeah.
I remember when they cut them down. I was like, oh, I hope Timmy doesn't see that.
I know. That's sad.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. Something goes in my head and I never forget it. Sometimes it's a terrible thing.
Now, would you, because I was younger, would you even remember how the Grants met the Roddas? I don't even know.
I don't know about the parents, but you and I just met just through the living on Wangtown Road and being down by Veteros's with the horse stable and riding our bikes and whatever we had on the road. That was it. Yeah,
camping down at Kentwood Lake.
Yeah. Yep.
I like to bring up Kentwood Lake before we get into this, is because when I think about Kentwood Lake today and knowing our memories of growing up there, I look back and that was very similar to how Ireland was in my own memory. I mean, think of it. It was a narrow dirt road we lived on.
Yes. Back then.
It was a very small community. The nearest grocery store was Jesse's, and that was just a little small.
A mile up the hill.
Yeah, a mile up the hill. Yeah. We had a school. There was a pub up there.
Yep.
The Kent Bar, but or Smoyer. It used to be Smoyers before that. Yeah.
And Kentwood, you're right. Kentwood was a very tight community. It was a unique time because so many people moved in with kids or kids being born at that time that it was like literally a community to itself. And there was other places just like that around the town of Kent, Carmel, experiencing kind of the same thing, but we had a lake.
Yeah. So anyway, this is actually a true pilot episode.
That's a good one.
Use that line. So you just got back from Ireland. If I give you 30 seconds and you could tell me one story from the entire trip, what story would you be telling me?
I think it would revolve around 2 locations, Killybegs and associated with Slieve League and going for a great hike there, and then Dingle and all the walking and hiking we did around that area. We really played it fast and loose, and we just decided we'd see something nice. And Slieve League was very deliberate. That was like, hey, we were here 10 years ago and we had the kids and they called it the soggy sleeve because it was so wet. It was miserable for them. This time we went back, we had great weather, and we hiked all the way to the part where it becomes just a 1 foot wide path on on the ledges, which we weren't going to do. And that was a fantastic day. Just the Killybegs the night before and that day, just getting out on your feet and walking around and enjoying the climate and the countryside and the views that, quite honestly, a lot of people don't get to see because it can be pretty rugged. And there isn't a picture that I've seen or that I took that actually does justice to what we saw and what we experienced. And we were very fortunate with the weather. And there's no panographic, there's no video that actually can really show what the scenery was like and that. So, but those two places, Michelle's favorite was Dingle itself, and we just got out of the car on Slea Head Drive, and we'd go for a walk where it was permitted, and we found all kinds of places and nooks and crannies that were just, you know, you've never seen this on a postcard or in a travel book for Ireland. Not that I've read every one of them, but we definitely got to see a lot of views that I never knew existed, and they're
Was
all.
this the second trip you took to Ireland, or have you been there more than those two
No,
times?
this was the second trip. The first one was 10 years ago, and we took the kids, and again, luckily we have family over there, so they're giving us good advice on where to go and what to do. And we did a lot of history, a lot of um, ancient sites, birthplace religions, castles, and things like that. We did a couple typical tourist things. Slieve League, I'd heard from a friend of mine. The weather's typically pretty rough there, so my cousins weren't recommending it, and they were right the last time. And then we did Cliffs of Moher. We had a great day in the Cliffs of Moher. So good, in fact, last time that we skipped it this year for Kilkee, then took the ferry across and saw. I mean, it was just ridiculous, all the good stuff that we saw.
We'll get to that there.
Yep.
So on this trip, was this the Ireland that you were expecting to see, or was there anything different about it?
It was better than expected. It's a combination of the weather, of course, plays a huge role anytime you travel to a place like Ireland. Anywhere along the Atlantic, your weather's going to be a major factor. But the people, just the people that we met were awesome, and of course that includes the family. But just other people on the west side of Ireland, especially, were just super friendly and super helpful and willing to, we'd ask questions about certain things, and they're like, "How do you know about that?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can go up this way and make a right, and you'll find that place." And it was like, okay, so
We'll
it was.
we'll, we'll get into some of those individual stories in a minute. Let's back up for a second. You haven't even got to Ireland yet, but you had quite the incident in Albany, right? Trying to get, or what were you had quite the incident in Washington D.C. Was it?
It was a combination of both. We had one of the major things that I learned on this trip was uh, don't take a connecting flight to a major airport. Just drive to the airport, and things will be much simpler. If you can get a direct flight to Ireland, it definitely cuts out a lot of potential problems. We had a maintenance issue on the aircraft, took them an hour and a half to fix. That put us behind. Then we arrived at Washington Dulles, and there was a wild thunder and lightning storm going on, so none of the workers could go out on the ramp, and we were delayed there. We spent a total of 4 hours on that airplane because they couldn't have workers on the flight line. The airplane that we were taking to Ireland couldn't leave. But then when we got out and ran to that terminal, we missed it. We could hear the door close as we rounded the corner, and that was it. We were out. So we lost a whole day. And we got there early the next day. And our plan was to see my cousin Porrick and Maggie the first day there. We had to skip that. And that's when we decided just to go straight up to Giant's Causeway from there.
You rent a car. Is this the first time you ever driving in Ireland?
No, we rented a small Ford Transit, if I remember, last time we were there because we had the kids. And but we had the iPad for navigation because it didn't have it in the vehicle at the time. We took some adventures with the iPad navigation, downloading a map that were not intended. But this time, I rented a little bit nicer car. It was a Volvo S60, and it had built-in navigation as well as Apple CarPlay, and that was a huge help in navigating to the places that we wanted to go. And then if we heard or saw something from other people on a whim, we could just add it to the map and do it and look and say, "Hey, we can actually pull this off today. Let's go and take a look at that. And we would just add it to the trip.
That's
And
the
then,
best. Some of those are the best trips when you make that little, you're making decisions on the fly.
yeah, as a matter of fact, the only hotel that we booked ahead of time was at Giant's Causeway, and that was the night before.
That's the only hotel you
Every
had
other
booked.
hotel we stayed at, we booked that day that we were driving towards that location.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's the way I used to travel with there, because I used to always say, "Oh, well, we'll just get a B&B somewhere."
Right.
You wrote in your notes that you had a little bit of a learning curve, but then you said you made it a curb.
Right. A learning
A
curve.
learning curb. What, can you explain that?
Although the learning curve is the left-hand side of the car in Ireland. when you first get in the vehicle and you're driving from the right side of the vehicle, you tend to kiss the curb on the left side as you're learning how to drive on that side of the road. So
So
there was a
that's
couple
your
of good,
learning curb then.
yeah, that's my learning curb. Luckily, it was mostly in Northern Ireland, so the Republic of Ireland was safer. I tested it out
Oh, you
in Northern
tested
Ireland.
it. Okay. One of the things that always sticks out to me when you first get on the road is you got to remember that when you want to pass somebody on the highway, you're going to the inside, which is to the right.
Yes.
And in America, it's you're going to the left to pass somebody.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was me passing people in a car just comes naturally, I think. I don't know what it is.
Well, let me
Not you.
ask you this: you're an Army helicopter pilot. What's more scary, driving in a car around the Ring of Kerry and meeting up with like a huge bus, or flying a helicopter?
Well, none of the buses had any guns sticking out of them, so that was safer.
That's always a bonus.
Yeah, it's a bonus. We were well prepared for driving Slea Head Drive and the Ring of Kerry. We'd prepared beforehand, watching a lot of videos and getting advice, and being a little bit older and not having kids in the house or driving them to and from school. You actually have time to work on stuff together, and we plotted out a lot of different things. And what we determined, and the reason why we went to Giant's Causeway first was just the weather pattern that we were tracking for the week. I think being in aviation, you look at weather a little bit differently, and you can analyze trends to your favor. So we were looking, and we accomplished a lot of things due to sun angle and weather. We ended up in places on the west side, at sunset, which happened to be 10 o'clock at night, but we were planning on 8 because it took 2 days to realize, oh, I never really looked at what time the sun goes down around here. And it was like,
Right, right.
10:30.
I knew that's why you sent me that one picture. You're with the daylight, and I knew it wasn't 10 o'clock in the morning. You were showing me.
Yeah. No, that was 5 to 10 at night. And I'd
That's
sent
only
that to the
that's and
kids.
that's only in the summertime, where that'd be completely different
Right.
in the winter.
It's a lot like Iceland that way.
Yeah.
We got caught a couple times because the sun wasn't going down, and it's 8, 9 o'clock, and we're thinking it's 5 or 6 o'clock. We're still enjoying the outdoors.
Well,
And it's like,
that's where it gets you too, is when you want to eat. So
Yes.
it happened to me and my daughter when we were in Belmullet. We're having fun, we're doing our thing, and we were like, all right, I'm starving. We got to go eat. I look at my watch. The restaurants are closed. It's still sunny out.
yes.
We missed dinner. We ended up having to get like fast food.
Wow. We had what they call the traditional Irish breakfast, or what they market as a traditional Irish breakfast, every day. And so we ate, and we were full for the day. And it wasn't until 7 or 8 o'clock at night that we were actually looking, that we were even hungry again. That was a good thing, and it
Yeah.
came with the hotel that we were staying in. So the breakfast was included.
Speaking of food, I know you wrote down in your logs there that you had some pretty good fish chowder. That's one of my favorites when I go there. I try to eat fish chowder wherever restaurant I go.
Yeah, we had the fish box in Dingle was phenomenal. I mean, that chowder was really good, and it was different than New England clam chowder that you get here, and obviously way different than Manhattan clam chowder. But the fish chowder was substantial, and I mean, I was set for the night just on the chowder alone, let alone the chips that I ate and
Yeah.
the,
I think the
the
best chowder I ever had was also in Dingle, but it was at a place called the Half Door. But I've been to
okay.
the Fish Box. That's right around the corner from Dick Mack's. Did you go to Dick Mack's when you were there?
I can't remember, to be honest. I think I did. I think that's where we saw the live music and the Irish step dancing. I meant to look it up.
Describe it. What did it look like?
Well, where we stayed in that hotel with a name we can't pronounce,
Yeah.
it's on the same street. You go down the hill, and you pass a couple of pubs, and then there's a, a, one of the larger establishments that's a pub there, and you walk
Probably
in, and there's,
the Dingle Pub, probably.
I think it might have been the Dingle Pub.
If you
Yeah.
walk in, is the bar on your left?
Yes,
And there's
and
like
then
I think
oh,
there might even be like a sunken dining room and to the right.
yes, yep.
That's the
There's
Dingle
the
Pub.
bar, the main floor, and then a step down to the dining room.
That's the Dingle Pub.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would normally have music there. Absolutely. How about O'Sullivan's? Did you go there?
No,
Very, very low ceiling. That's how
no, we
you would
didn't get it.
remember it.
We got to, we got to Dingle, and we got in the hotel, and then we went for a drive. I mean, we drove,
You went around Slea Head, right?
yeah, and we
Yeah,
got
pretty
out and
cool.
hiked around, and by the time we got back, it was dark, and then we went to the pub, so, and it was kicking off pretty good at
Yeah.
10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
There's also along that ride. There's the Dingle Distillery. I tried. It wasn't open when I was there last, but that's a place I want to stop one of these days.
Yeah, it was recommended by quite a few people, and we drove past it, um, but we just didn't get a chance to go in.
Yeah. You can't do everything.
You could try.
Yeah,
You
you
can
can
try.
try, but you can't get everything in. Yeah. When you were up at Giants Causeway, you did go to the Bushmills distillery, though, right?
Yes, the next day. So we got to Giants Causeway, had a great day. We were looking at the weather. It wasn't going to be great when we arrived in Donegal based on our timeline. So we were like, hey, what? There's a Bushmills distillery here. Why don't we just go see that? So that was actually an audible. That was not planned. And we went to Bushmills. It was a local girl whose father had worked there. Um, the she knew that the history of that place, and had firsthand experience of her dad working there, and she gave us a really great tour. And then we had a tasting at the end, as they do, right? Michelle had what's called the Irish martini or something like that, or it was made with Bushmills, but it had some fruit in it, and it was phenomenal. And then she tried a Bushmills and ginger, which she really liked, and she normally does not like any whiskey at all, but for whatever reason, the mildness of what we had there, but the good taste, she really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you always hear people getting Jameson and ginger,
Yeah.
Bushmill and ginger be just the same thing. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's got a little different taste to it, and if if you don't like Jameson, which I don't know anybody other than my wife, but if you don't like the JMO and ginger, the Bushmills and ginger might be for you.
Oh, speaking of JMO, you did go to the Midleton distillery as well, right?
Yes, yeah, that was another great tour. A bit more commercial, but there's so much to tell. In that, what they're doing is they're telling the history of Irish whiskey making. Bushmills told the history of Bushmills, and I didn't realize, and I didn't know until I took this tour, that at one time there were hundreds of distilleries in Ireland, and due to prohibition and some other challenges, they were down to three distilleries: Redbreast, Jameson, and Midleton, I think it was. I can't remember. At one time, there was just three left, and they got together, consolidated there at Midleton, and started distilling there all the different recipes that
Oh,
they
I
had.
see. Okay.
And now I think they said they're up to 50 independent or 50 distillers in the country now. But according to the person that gave us the tour, basically saying that they were down to three distillers in the entire country of Ireland, and that they needed to come together to work together to actually support each other to be able to keep distilling, which was a very unique thing to hear. I'd never heard of that before. And it clarified for me, I thought Redbreast was distilled somewhere else. I thought Jameson was just, we did another tour 10 years ago, went to another place where they were distilling it. Now they just all distill it right there. And it was interesting to learn, to learn that.
So you did the taste test at both?
Yes.
Who won out of Midleton versus
Well, there's no
Bushmills?
comparison to Midleton Rare. That whiskey is incredible, incredibly smooth.
Yeah.
And I'd never tasted a whiskey like that before. It was quite something.
Whiskey aside, which place do you feel had a better story?
If you go to Bushmills, you're going to get a slightly better description of how whiskey is distilled and what the process is, especially when you get to the older whiskeys. And I've been to Jack Daniel's and a couple other places, but the first time I saw this, or the first time maybe I paid attention to it, was at Bushmills, where they had the glass on the cask that had been aging and how much of it actually.
Well, they had that at Midleton, the glass
Yes.
on the barrel.
But the first time I saw it was at Bushmills, so it made an impression on me.
Oh, I see.
But,
Yeah.
But the
Okay.
distilling process was slightly better explained. But the history of what the experience was in Ireland for distilling Irish whiskey came completely from the Midleton tour. So they're both good in their own way. One, I thought, did a better job in explaining the distilling process and what it takes to go through it. And then the other one had everything. And you can, it was a longer tour, but you could pick and choose. If you want history, I'd say Midleton was the way to go. If you want to just focus on distilling and a smaller tour of people, probably Bushmills would be the way to go. I'm glad I did both, I can tell you that.
Let's talk about what happened in Killybegs. Going through your notes, you had an interesting run-in with one of the musicians there.
Yes.
Tell us that
So
story.
we went to, we were looking for a session, and so we went to the hotel bar after the harbor bar, and they had one musician playing a guitar, and he was playing some Irish music, and then he was asking for requests. And I started asking. Unfortunately, the songs I remember as a kid, my dad would listen to was all the rebel music. And so they try to play nice because you could have a lot of people from around the world, let alone maybe Northern Ireland, and singing rebel music in the bar may not be a great thing for everybody. So, but we got to talking to him, and we got some of the other songs, like Galway Bay and things like that. And he was happy to accommodate. And he was just a really great, engaging musician. He was asked, what are you doing here? What's next on the plan? And so we're going to go hike Slieve League. And he's like, oh, I'm a guide there. We're like, what? Again, another very helpful person. He said, don't even show up until noon. We were getting up at 6 a.m. to go do things. And he's like, don't even waste your time getting up there that early. Go at noon. And he was 100% right. We drove around a little bit beforehand. So we spent time driving around, talking to different people, seeing different things. We stopped to get a little cup of coffee or actually tea at this little food truck on the side of the road. They're like, oh, what are you doing here? Or what are you up to? And we're just explaining, oh, we're going to go to Slieve League, but we're waiting till noon because Union said to wait. And they're like, oh, there he goes right there. He drove by in his van. They all know him. And then we got there at noon and the sun came out and we just started hiking. And it was probably one of the better days in the history of Slieve League as far as the weather goes. You could actually see the cliffs, see the mountains, and you had good views of the valleys all the way back towards Killybegs. And that was great advice, and it added to the experience significantly.
So one of the things I always tell people when they're going to Ireland is ask questions.
Yeah.
Talk to people, because that's when you get the best. You get great advice when you're
Yes.
there. When you're there,
Yes.
talk to people, and you get great advice.
We did the hike, and then we came back down, and we're at the upper parking lot. We had parked at the lower parking lot, and he was kind of funny. He was like, where's your car? And I'm like, oh, it's all the way down at the other parking lot. And he's like, oh, good. As a guide would say, you didn't take the shortcut up here, He was happy to see that. And then he gave us one of his CDs. We are going to sit down and enjoy it one day with maybe some JMO and ginger and Bushmills and ginger. That's the orange and the green coming together, I guess.
What were some of the songs that he was singing?
Some of them were his own songs, and to be
Well, what were
honest,
some of the songs that you asked him that that he didn't want to
oh,
play?
the Irish Soldier Boy,
Oh yeah,
Fields of Athenry. It's weird now that I'm sitting here. I can't think of them, but when I'm around the accent, all of a sudden my mind comes alive
I
with these
believe it.
memories of my mom and dad and listening to the Chieftains, the Wolf Tones, and all that music. And then my uncle, who's a tenor, he owned an Irish bar up in Michigan until just last year. You know, he could sing unbelievably. So all being around it just generated my imagination, and the questions just started coming out. And then after he recommended that we stop at the Rusty Mackerel for a pint before we drove on to Galway, and so we
How
went
did you
down.
like the Rusty Mackerel?
That's a place I could have stayed.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list for my next trip in the west of Ireland.
Well, when you go, perhaps there's a bartender named Dylan still be working there, and we put my son-in-law's Troy Police Department patch on the wall there, and
Nice,
maybe you
nice.
can put an FDMY on the wall
Yeah,
there.
I always bring patches and
Yeah.
they're in a bunch of bars all throughout Ireland.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But this it was a great little pub, and the restaurant in the back. The bar was split. There was a fireplace in the middle, and they had some peat burning there, and uh, it was uh, it was a nice little pub, very friendly people, excellent pint of Guinness. You
yeah,
know, well, one of the things that we figured, one of our plans was to camp, and we were going to rent a camp. One of our thoughts for this trip was to rent a camper, and it was here, at Slieve League that we really realized that we could have done it, but it would have been a bit of a frustration. This trip was just the two of us in a small car zipping around Ireland, and we were able to, in doing that, like we were able to scout out some places where the camping is, and see how busy it was or not busy it was during that time of year. So the next time we go back, we're thinking, one or two of the sets of kids and families will come with us, and we are going to rent a camper, and but it does. We could not have done what we did in a camper, uh, but you'd have to modify your trip and where your stays are going to be and how long you're going to stay there.
yeah.
And the hotels, some of the hotels that we stayed at, you would never have been able to fit a camper in there.
Right.
Uh, so you have more to learn and a lot more work to do if you're going to actually do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but
You'll
out there,
probably be going to places also that you wouldn't have actually driven to if you weren't in a camper. I'll give you an example, and
yeah,
I drove by it last summer. I was out in Ackle Island, and there's a nice campground
huh,
that's right on the water there. I would suggest checking that out at least
okay,
online before you go. But it looked like a great place to go. If I was camping out there, I said to myself, this is a spot I'd like to go to. And
yeah,
if you do that, I'll tell you, there's a couple pubs you have to hit there. And one of them being
okay,
Linnet's. Linnet's on Ackle Island is a little tiny pub, little fireplace, exactly what you were explaining there.
yeah.
Oh man, it is a really, really nice pub that you would have to go to. And it's literally right around the corner from this campground, I'm telling you.
Okay. Yeah, it was. I'm glad we did it the way we did it with the car. And we passed a few places where some of the campgrounds were pretty well mobbed, and so you got some reservations to make and things like that to save your spot. And it's definitely in the works for the next time we go over.
Awesome. That'd be great.
But
We'll
they
we'll
it
have to
will
do we'll have to do a back from Ireland podcast when you come back from that
camping
one.
style.
Yeah. That'll be a good one. What's the one pub from this trip that you'd love to walk into tonight?
Oh wow. It would have to be Dingle Pub. I mean, the pints were poured properly,
Properly.
and the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. Everybody was happy to be there. The music was uplifting. The people were great, and the pints were great. So I mean, that was an incredible pub.
So you said the Dingle Pub was the pub you'd like to go into right now.
Right.
Great pints and everything. But what was the best pint? And I don't mean necessarily technically the best pint. Which one tasted the best because of where you were, who you were with, and what you were doing?
Yeah. The best pint in that case would be Kruger's Pub, the westernmost bar in Ireland. And not only was it technically, in my opinion, perfect, it was at the end of a long hike. And I was just with Michelle, and it was just the two of us. We had a quiet bench outside where we got to sit down and enjoy the pint. And I think everything wrapped up together made that pint the best pint.
You just made me think of there's a pub in maybe this is somewhere on your next trip. Crowpatrick, at the bottom of Crowpatrick, there's a pub called Campbell's. And I think I've been told that that's another place that people like to go to after that type of hike. It's just got that feel.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's where we were going when we went to Donegal, but we skipped it because that morning the weather we weren't going to get anything out of it other than walking in the mist.
Gotcha.
So we actually just drove on, and that's how we wound up in Killybegs that night, because we had time to drive a little bit further.
Do you have a bartender that you remember more?
The one person that stands out was Dylan at the Rusty Mackerel. He was just really friendly, on point, interested in what we were experiencing, what we were doing, why we were there. There was a gentleman in Dingle at the hotel we stayed at who was the bartender for the hotel. I forget his name, but he was just a very engaging person. He kind of reminded me of like Tommy Fury in a way. You can
really?
just carry on a conversation like you've known this person your whole entire life,
Yeah. Yeah, Tommy does have that knack.
Yeah. T. Coyley, there was a bartender there. For whatever reason, we made a connection, and he was Johnny on the spot with every pint that I wanted,
Yeah.
And
that's a pub that would have my patch on behind the bar.
Okay.
My
Yeah,
company
I believe
patch
it.
is behind they already had an FDNY patch, so I gave them my company patch.
Okay, good.
Now tell me about you did go visit your grandmother's hometown.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
As far as your favorite time, that was our favorite time of the trip, is seeing the family, my cousin Tricia and Mary, and then my other cousins came in, Park and his wife Maggie came in from Enfield, which is just outside Dublin, and then Bridget and some of the other family around the area of Kilkerran came out to the pub that night at Connolly's. But getting there and seeing Tricia again and Mary and they're a lot of fun. They're great to talk to. And Eva, she was just 10 years ago when we went there, we actually got to attend her christening at my grandmother's church.
Wow.
Which
so
was...
she didn't remember you.
No. She'll remember us now. I gave her some dad jokes to think about. Of course they sometimes they translate, sometimes they don't, but
yeah,
she's still thinking about it. Yeah, where my grandmother grew up, a 3-room Irish cottage, is still there. They use it for storage now. It's a farm, so they have a beautiful house that they built there now.
But it's still your relatives on the property?
Yes, the Higgins family. That's my grandmother's side. She was a Higgins, so they're still there. I sent you a couple pictures in a text of the organs that my grandmother donated to the church. There's 2 of them, and on there there's a plaque.
We actually have to be careful. Just thought about the way you just said that. I'm like, she donated her organs? Okay, there was an organ that she donated.
Yeah, musical instrument.
A musical instrument. Go ahead.
For the church.
Sorry, I digress.
And on that, the people of the town put a plaque on each one with her name on it and where she was from, and Kilkerran is on there.
That's nice.
And, so that's a good reference. But no matter where we went in Ireland, most people nobody had ever heard of Kilkaren. It's a lot like, being from Kent. Everybody knows where Carmel is, but hardly anybody knows about the town of Kent.
Gotcha.
And so that it was a very interesting thing. And, people seem to be kind of pleased that we were telling about, oh, we went to see our cousins in Kilkaren, and I'm like, where is that? And you're telling them, oh, it's in County Galway. They're like, where in County Galway? And you're trying to explain it to them, and you say, west of Roscommon, east of Galway. And they're like, oh, the farm country, and they're like, oh, you're still connected. And one of the lady that took us in at the hotel in Dingle was looking at Michelle and looking at me, and he's like, oh, he's one of us. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So we went out to a place that my cousin Mary runs a dart tournament or a dart league. And McDermott is the owner's name. Great guy, phenomenal guy. And we got there kind of late because we had dinner and we were all talking and catching up. And then we went out and we're all playing darts, and we're just doing what we would normally do. You remember what my family was like as kids. We could sit there and talk for hours on end. And next thing you knew, it was 3:00 in the morning. So we get back to Trish's, and Park and I are still up talking, and she's like, I'm going to bed. And so Park and I stayed up till about 6:15 in the morning, and like, we have to go to bed, like, we're going to lay down, go to sleep here. You got up the next morning, and Michelle just says, there's no doubt that you are all related because you talk so much.
And that's why you wanted to come on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids nicknamed me Chatty Chuck, so that's
all right, Chatty Chuck.
good.
Well, in the old days, we always called you Chucky, and
Yes.
my whole life I called you Chucky Rodda.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Now you're a little bit bigger than me, so maybe I'll just stick with Chuck. Does anybody still call you Chucky in your family?
Yes, it drives my wife insane. My sisters
funny.
still do it.
So now tell me this, there was something in the your notes there about your grandmother cared for some guy that you met.
Never, I don't have any recollection of this whatsoever. But my cousins knew about this, and they introduced me to a lady who is, I think, in her 70s. She really wanted to talk to me about my grandmother and how she took care of her father. Apparently, when she was 19, I think there was a boy that was orphaned, or I don't know how, but she wound up bringing this kid home to their house in Kilkaren and helping raise him.
Wow.
And I don't know how many years it was, but it was significant. And it was hard on him when she left to come over here. She wanted more opportunity, I guess, is why she left. We never really talked about that, but, I had no idea. And perhaps my cousins know about this story that are here in the States. I don't remember ever hearing anything about it. But, she gave her a lot of credit for being a woman and taking a kid, just 19 years old, and taking him into her house and telling her family, we're gonna take care of him.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to bring another mouth to feed home, and that's how it's going to be. She was a very powerful personality in all the good ways, in my experience.
How old were you when she passed?
I was 32.
Okay.
32 years old.
Now, do you know
she
if
lived
she
to
ever,
99?
did she ever go back to Ireland?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. She went back more frequently than her husband or even her kids, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
She went back a good amount. And there's a video that I have that my cousin Patrick sent me when he was over visiting, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. And he did a great job with this video. Where he just let it play, and they were talking about the house and the thing in the picture, that clothesline that I wanted to tell you about, that my grandmother did. And it's been up there for over 100 years, a clothesline. But it's
Really?
ingenious what she did. Yeah. So I sent you a picture, and you could see this thick, what looks like a thick wire going across the open span of the common room in the house. And what my grandmother did was she found a piece of wire and she took all the spools, the thread spools that they had in the house, and threaded it over that wire. So when you hung your clothes up to dry and you wanted to take one off, the spools would spin and only that piece of clothing would come off.
And that's
Pretty
still
ingenious.
there?
It's still there.
That's interesting.
But that's her ingeniousness. That's her as a kid doing stuff like that to make life
100
a little
years,
better.
that still exists in the house.
It still exists. It's still there.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, I know.
When you said earlier that you skipped going to the Cliffs of Moher,
Yes.
was it something that you just decided on your own, or did somebody tell you you should go to Kilkee instead?
It was a combination of things. We had our initial plan when we left the cousins in Kilkerran was to go back through Galway and stop at Cliffs of Moher, Doolin's Cave, and then move on to Kilkee. And we were leaving at 6 a.m, so we had a full day planned for that. But that morning, we're talking to my cousin Tricia and my cousin Billy and my cousin Mary, and Billy has driven trucks all over Ireland forever, and we started discussing, like, you know what, maybe the weather's so good, maybe I don't want to be in a cave today, and that started to digress into, well, the last time we were at Cliffs of Moher, it was a beautiful day, and we have phenomenal pictures. It's going to be tough to beat that, but if we continue past all that and go down towards Kilkee, we can spend a lot more time in that area. And if there's crowds or something, we'll have time to deal with that. And so Tricia mentioned that Billy used to take a ferry across after Kilkee and from Kilmare, and that would save driving all the way to Limerick and then coming back. This all just came together over the breakfast table that morning. And we were like, let's just go to Kilkee. We're not in a rush. We can take our time driving. And since we're leaving so early, if we see something we like along the way, we can just stop and go check it out. And so that's what we did. And we took our time, went down to Kilkee, and I'm telling you, it was amazing. We got there so early, the people that were camping there were just waking up.
Oh, that's right.
And we walked for hours all over Kilkee. I mean, all over the place. We would drive somewhere, go to a pull-off, and then just start walking. You got to be careful. There's a couple fences. There's a lot of sheep farming in that area. And you got to be respectful of the property and not go over that or through it. There's plenty of places where there are pull-offs, where it's wide open to the public, where you can walk along the cliff's edge and take phenomenal pictures. It was just amazing. Yeah,
That's
it was
great.
beautiful. Kilkee was a real highlight of our trip. Just the two of us together, randomly driving around, beautiful scenery the whole time, and then stopping at a pull-off. And if there was access to the cliffs, we just walk out to it.
So on this trip, were there any times that you actually abandoned your itinerary because you listened to somebody else?
Taking the ferry was nowhere in our agenda whatsoever. Completely unplanned, and worked out tremendously well. We did get caught trying to go to, we planned on stopping in Waterford at one of my coworkers' family's pub, and I dropped off some LifeNet swag for them and stuff like that. And just to say hello from a relative, kind of thing. We did accomplish that, but our technique of booking rooms that night didn't plan out too well, or did pan out too well for Waterford, because all the rooms were taken. They're booked with migrants and stuff like that. And the bartender even told us, he's like, you probably won't find a room here in Waterford.
Wow.
So we went a little bit further, and we went to Horse and Hound at a name I can't pronounce. I'm sorry. But that was a great find. And we had a good stay. And we got there late, later than we wanted to, but it worked out well for us.
Kind of off topic here, but just because you brought up Waterford, Have you ever read the book The Immortal Irishman?
No.
That's a book you need to get.
Okay.
That is the book. You know who Thomas Francis Meagher was?
Yeah.
He's originally from Waterford.
Okay.
And there's a book. It's by Timothy Egan. I've talked about it on the podcast a few times because that's how much I love this book. It's a whole story about Thomas Francis Meagher.
Okay.
And I think you would, being a military guy, you would enjoy the book. And it's a quick
Okay.
read, real easy. Get it on Amazon.
What's it called again?
It's called The Immortal Irishman.
Immortal Irishman. Okay.
Yeah, great
I'll
book.
check that out.
Great book. You'll enjoy it. All right, I'm going to name a few things from your journal, and I want you to give me the first story that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. Conor Pass.
Awesome.
Scary?
Not so much for me, but if I had to be the passenger, I would say yes.
I was the passenger in a van going through there. I remember looking down like that. That was a little scary.
It was a great drive,
Yeah.
and there was some construction on the road, so it slowed people down, which I think worked in our favor.
Oh, I could see how that would work in your favor for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you go down out of Dingle or back into Dingle on Conor Pass?
No, we went from Dingle. We went up we went up to Connor's Pass.
So you were leaving when you.
Yes.
Okay. The lake with the monsters. I have no idea what that means, but you wrote that in your journal.
Okay. So yeah, that was Michelle's notes. I don't know if you could tell, but some of the notes are combined, hers and mine. She wrote stuff down too. So this is just one on Slea Head Drive, one of our infamous pull-offs, and it looked like a place to take a break from driving. And I looked up the hill and I look on the map and I'm like, there's a pond up there, and you can see the terrain forms like a cup. I was like, that would be cool to see. So we were like, okay, let's go. And as we started walking up there, we could see more people. They had the same idea, or they had the knowledge that was there. So we went up there, beautiful lake. One of the best panoramic pictures that I got on the trip of Ireland is at that location. And one of the things, and was just amazing about this, was that you could just sit there and look at the terrain and see something different every 15, 20 seconds, and you would appreciate it even more, And it was just nice to sit down and take all that in. And as you're taking it in, you're like, oh, I see this. And it's just features of the terrain, and the light and the color off the lake were just amazing. So on the way down, you saw a family walking up with their bathing suits on. And Michelle was like kind of surprised, like, you're going to go swimming? He's like, oh, yeah, but you got to stay close to the edges because the water's really dark. There's monsters in there. And of course he was Irish, and he said it with that Irish accent and the brogue. And it was the whole storytelling legends of Irishmen telling something and then actually thinking that there's monsters in there, but we're still going to go swimming in it, but we're staying close to the edge.
Yeah, I'm going to stay close to the edge because I don't want the monsters to get me. The monsters don't come close to the edge.
No, not at all.
They're further out. Okay. All right. Crowley's Bar. I don't know where that was.
Yeah, Crowley's was in Kenmare, and we had a good pint there and a very good session and very good people. That was
traditional music.
Yes, traditional. They had a couple fiddles. They had the accordion, and they had a couple flutes, and it was very nice. It was a quaint little place and very friendly. When you talk about it being late at night and you haven't eaten yet and stuff, we were getting ready to go out, and then we looked at the time and said, we better eat something because we haven't eaten all day, and now we're about to go out and everything's going to be closed. And as we were going out, all the other stores were shutting down, and that's how late it was. And then we got there, still bright outside, but still daylight. And every place was shutting down, people going home or to the pub, and they had a good session going there and got a decent pint there at Crowley's also. There was I think one of the unique things, there was a little kid there who was enjoying the music, and he was a little rascal kind of kid, running around. It was kind of fun to watch, but that was a nice time.
I was in Kenmare. It was 2008, I think. And a buddy of mine from my firehouse, who's Irish, he's from Kenmare.
Huh.
And I didn't know, I wasn't in that firehouse anymore, so I didn't know he was traveling. But my dad and I walk into this pub, and it was a locals place. It wasn't like a touristy kind of place in Kenmare. O'Connor's, I think it was. So we walked in, and it was only like two people at the bar. I went and used the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom, and there's two old timers talking. And I thought I overheard one say to the other one, Noonan. Now that's my buddy Billy's last name. So I'm like, oh, geez, this must be Billy's dad. So I didn't want to interject, I'm just waiting. I was waiting to kind of say, hey, are you Bill Noonan's father, With that, I hear a guy talking behind me. And, I worked with this guy.
Yeah.
I turn around, it's Billy. Guy I work with in the Bronx.
You never
he's
know.
from Kenmare, but we didn't know, we were traveling, but that was a funny story.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're still, your next word is the sinking pub.
Yeah. Roaches, the sinking pub.
Yeah.
Well, we went there 10 years ago, and it was a unique place that during the Troubles and problems with the British and their lockdown on everything as far as food and resources, they were able to get into the peat bogs behind there and pull the peat out in order to heat the homes. But they pulled so much out that the pub actually sank. And so there's a portion of the pub. I'll send you another picture. Michelle has a good picture, but I have a better picture from 10 years ago, my cousin Park and his friend Mick, who's a phenomenal guy. But you can see the front of it is really tilted extremely. And when you walk inside, it's like you're on a ship. All of a sudden, you walk in the door, you just want to like walk to the right because the pub has sunken significantly.
Yeah.
And
I was in there with my son after a golf outing. We were there. Yeah, we were there.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to hear your side of it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Nice old pub. We were only there. I think we were only in there for two pints, but.
Yep. How long ago was that?
Let's see. It was probably 2022 or 23.
Okay. Did they have the restaurant in the back at the time, or was it just the pub?
You know what? I remember just walking. We didn't go in the back at all. We walked in and we went to the right, and it was like I think it was a fireplace right there. We just sat there. It would have been the lower end of the pub, I think.
Yeah, at the sunken part.
Yeah.
Well, the inside
there was a little tiny bar right there, and then there was a bar further up top.
And then there's another bar up top, and there's quite a few snugs in there that you can appreciate.
Oh, an Irish Snug?
Yes, imagine that. And then in the back, there's a whole nother restaurant that didn't exist.
See, that I didn't know. I need to walk around a little bit more sometimes.
Yeah.
Check out the place.
But and Nick is funny. He's like, oh, nothing's changed here. Nothing's changed. It's all the same. And I'm like, Nick, it's 4 times the size it used to be in the back. He's like, oh, yeah. But he's funny. The
writing's on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. On the ceiling.
All right. We're skipping around here. How about the Keys?
Yeah, we stopped in the Keys pub, and we're talking to the bartender, and he's giving us tips on things to see. And this gentleman next to me hears my accent, being from New York, and he says, hey, where are you from? And so we start talking, and he goes, yeah, I'm from Kingston. And then I'm like, get out of here. Well, he took that personal for some reason. I don't know why, but he thought I was telling him to get the hell out of the bar. Oh. It took him a second to adjust. And I'm like, no, it just means I'm shocked. You're the second person from New York I've met in Galway. Last night at Tea Coily, we met a family from Batavia, and now uh, I'm running into somebody from Kingston. And once he got over the initial shock of the get out of here, we were watching a rugby match, and there were some calls and stuff. And now the two of us are just going, "Get out of here," in
So you made
response to
fun.
everything.
Good.
But turns out he has a radio show on kingstonradio.org called The Irish Show. They do talks about Irish history, Irish American history.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. So he's a former teacher or professor at New Paltz, or taught in New Paltz, lives in Kingston, and his wife, he was a art teacher. He was a very interesting guy to talk to, and Michelle appreciated it because she's an artist, and they had, a good conversation.
Is
And
is this Irish show? Is it a music?
it's everything Irish, whatever you want to talk about.
Oh,
Yeah. But he'd be a great guy to talk to.
yeah. I'm gonna Google it and check him out.
Yep.
I'll
And
say,
they had
get
done
out of here.
and they had done a tour, and they've been over several times. He said, the tours are good. They have their positives and minuses, but they have a company, which I'm going to get in touch with him because they have it down to a science. The people that they work with, and they all go over, and they do a big group of people, and they tour together. And he says, there's a right way to do it. There's a not so right way to do it, but we've got it down to a science, and they thoroughly enjoy themselves on the tours. And they've done the same thing that Michelle and I did, where you would just rent a car and go.
Mhm.
And they're at the age now where they're like, the tours are fun for us. We like, there's a lot of camaraderie and social aspect to being on the bus together. So they do enjoy that.
Good. Yeah, I can see that. All right, I got one more word for you. Coors Light. You're in Ireland and you're drinking Coors Light?
Yeah. As shocking as it was for Michelle to see, my cousins have drunk enough Guinness that they they moved on to Coors Light, and so we had my cousin has a nice little man cave in his barn that he built, and it's got a pool table in there, and we were having a great night, and they just stuffed the refrigerator with Coors Lights, and that's what we drank. And you don't get full, you don't get too drunk, and you have a great time, and you have a great social time of it together. And then when you're done with it, we're putting them up in the rafters, so they're trying to line the inside of the ceiling joists with the empty beer cans. We did a good job. We really helped them out
Okay.
that night.
He does that every weekend. He just empties them out, and then another person comes and
Yeah. But Michelle was like, we got back to Nick's house that night where we were staying, and she's, I can't believe, guys, you're drinking Coors Light in Ireland. And it's like, it's a family time. We're just having a great talk and stuff, and
not because the Guinness got too heavy or the.
not at all. Not for me. For them, maybe, but not for me. So
You wrote at least once or twice in your journal there. You used the, I don't know if it was you or Michelle that wrote it at the end, what Ireland taught us this day. So
Yeah.
what did Ireland teach you about your whole trip?
you can't go wrong by going there. You're always going to see something that you're going to enjoy and get a greater appreciation for. And and at the same time, as much as you want to see everything, it's worth seeing something in the right amount of time so that you can really appreciate it. Instead of just saying, we went to the Cliffs of Moher, you could say that I went to the Cliffs of Moher, we hiked here, we hiked there, we caught a piece of history there, and we got on a boat and saw the cliffs from that side. You could literally spend 2 days at the Cliffs of Moher if you wanted to, and take in not just the cliff, but the local community and a boat ride. And then, oh, maybe there's an island I want to go see out there. You could literally spend 2 or 3 days just doing that and appreciating that, rather than just hitting the high points. Oh, we saw this castle, and we ran through it with the tour. And then we drove here, and we went to a brewery, and we ran through it with a tour. If you if you take the time to really delve into the location that you're seeing the site or the attraction, there's much, much more in and around that immediate area that you could really appreciate.
I agree with that. And if you look at you're using Cliffs of Moher as an example, Cliffs of Moher is definitely a checkbox for almost everybody that comes to Ireland.
Yeah.
So if you're just hitting that box and then going to another checkbox, you really are missing out on something else.
Yeah.
Like Doolin is right there.
Absolutely.
Lahinch, there's a lot of different things that are not
Yeah.
far from there that you gotta see and do. Yeah,
Yes.
you're gonna get a great session, especially that's Clare. Clare's got the best music. I think they say that Clare claims that it's like the origination of all Irish music is in the
Hmm.
county of Clare.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot of traditional Irish music being played in Clare.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely hitting. I'm picking Doolin, but there really isn't
Yeah.
many pubs there. I think there's only 3 pubs in
And
Doolin.
and Doolin was on the list for me to stop and
Hmm.
see and get a pint and see a pub or two.
But like
But
what you were saying, little things that you were doing, were getting out of the car and walking. I know behind Doolin, if you drive back, there's a lot of old stone buildings and decrepit things that are fallen, like really cool things to look at. Great,
yes,
especially if you have good weather. A lot,
right.
little hiking things that you can do there. I think you hit the money right there. Is you do have you get to your checkbox, but spend a little time there.
Oh, is
When
yeah,
so many people ask me about their trips, oh, here's what I'm going to do, and they give me like this. It's like a map of Ireland, and there's like hardly any. They drew a whole line, and they're like, yeah, I'm going over for 7 days, and I'm like, you. You're not going to enjoy Ireland by trying to hit all that stuff in 7 days.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
better off just picking a smaller area. I mean, you were over for 12 days and you got a lot of ground and you got a lot of stuff in,
yeah, and family. I mean, we spent
and
4
family.
nights
Yeah.
total with family and still got all that in. But, I mean, the family is the highlight of the trip for us. They're just such great people, and their friends are great people, and, like, the guy Mick, he put us up in his house 10 years ago, me, Michelle, and the kids. He had never met us before, but because we're their Park's cousins, he's like, "Oh, we'll take care of them.
Yeah.
They're all set." That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, hospitality that exists there, which is
And I
tremendous.
hope it stays like that. I hope they continue that hospitality like that. I mean, I remember years ago, you pull over and you ask somebody for directions and they say, well, park right here and come in for a cup of tea and I'll tell you how to get where you're going. That was
Yeah,
before we had GPS and everything was, you go from this town to this town to and plus the
right,
roads weren't nowhere near like as good as they are right now.
right.
So yeah, you were asking directions a lot more back, years ago.
And with GPS, you're still gonna have that opportunity because there are some places where it's gonna take, for random reason, Google Maps, it's just like, "Make a left here." You're like, you know, you do, then you're like, "Wait a second, where's this thing taking me and why?" And
Yeah,
then you pan out and it's like, "Oh, there was an accident up there, but it's probably cleared now." You go back and then you go
yeah,
through it. But it's great to have modern technology, but Ireland is a very magical place, and it's entirely possible that the GPS might not be able to keep up with the magic that exists there and send you in
yeah,
a on an offshoot somewhere.
yeah. But not just that. I encourage everybody when they go there. It's one of my biggest, things that I tell them to do is stop and ask people for directions.
Mhm.
Stop and ask them a question. Where should I go? Just ask the question. You might get a couple people that are like, yeah, I don't know, but very rare. You're going to get
Yeah.
incredible hospitality.
Even at the food truck, I'm sitting there talking to this guy, and I don't realize there's a line forming behind me. And Michelle's like, "Hey, there's these people waiting in line." And they were talking, both the husband and wife were talking to me like I was the only person standing at the truck.
Yeah. But the
And like,
people behind you are probably like, "Oh, yeah," and they're probably just listening. They're not like saying, "Come on, I want to get my food."
definitely not. They're definitely not like in New York.
I'm going to start finishing off this episode in these series that we're doing,
Mhm.
back from Ireland, with the same 5 questions. I'm going to give everybody the same 5 questions. So
Okay.
we've already answered some, but just shoot off whatever to answer. The one place you'd go back to tomorrow. Doesn't have to be a bar, could be anywhere. The
Right.
one place you want to go back to tomorrow.
Other than the whole country of Ireland, inside of there, it would be Dingle.
Dingle. Good. I've given that same answer a few times myself. The pint or the drink you still can taste
The pint of Guinness at Kruger's.
at Kruger's. Very good. And the meal you can still taste.
The steak in Kenmare.
Steak in Kenmare. Do you know the name of the place you were at?
It was at the hotel. I'll have to get it to you. Oh, it's in Casey's restaurant
Oh,
in the
Casey's
hotel.
restaurant. Okay,
Yeah.
Casey's restaurant and hotel.
In the
Perfect.
hotel in Kenmare.
Okay.
By the way,
Okay.
phenomenal fish chowder there too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right.
Unreal.
All right. Someone you met that you'll never forget.
As far as this trip, it would be Unan out up in Killybegs, the musician, and the guide at Slieve League.
And the last question was, what's the story from this trip you'll still be telling 10 years from now?
There's quite a few. You know, the night with the family at the pub in Kilkee, the barbecue with the family the next day, and just
Well, it sounds like the central theme there is things that revolve around the family,
yeah,
which is that's a great thing.
yeah.
Well, Chuck, it was really great having you on the podcast. I think we got some good stuff. And now the next time you go on that camping trip, I definitely want to, we'll do an episode on that.
Cool. Maybe we'll go together.
That I'm in. I have no problem going to Ireland. My wife's like, she doesn't like to fly too much, but
Okay.
anytime. I'm always up for a trip. That'd be a good little reunion for us. We haven't seen each other in so long.
Yes. Just don't take a connection. Go direct that at JFK if you can.
I know that. Anywhere I go, I try to have a direct flight. I can't stand I can't stand hangovers and I can't stand layovers.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck, great seeing you. Great having you on the show. I really appreciated your time and everything. And thank you for your service with the military.
Thanks, Tim. This was great, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk again soon.